Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Pastatime with the Scary-ish podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And today is going to be like an SCP episode, I guess. Adam was just like, you know what I want to do this week? SCPs. If you haven't heard about what SCPs are, please go back in our catalog to the first SCP episode that I ever did, and it goes over what they are.
Indeed. So we'll also give a little bit of a brief explanation. So very similar to how we read creepypastas on Pastatime. The Scp Foundation is another website similar to creepypasta, but it's more themed around secure, contain, protect. So it's essentially like you're writing a profile for some sort of monster or supernatural, spiritual, weird object. And like basically what it does and how you can contain it and how you can protect people from it. And some of them are really interesting and fun. Some of them are really fucking creepy. And I just really, really like it. I think it's such a great writing prompt and there are so many. So I was like, let's do some SCPs tonight. And like I think we mentioned on episode 3 of Pastatime, we'll probably intersperse some SCP episodes here and there because I really enjoy them and we get a lot of suggestions for them. So in fact, I think 2 of the ones we're reading tonight come from suggestions. So we'll give shout out to those folks when we get to those particular ones. We actually haven't decided who's going to be going first, you or I.
Why don't you go first? Is yours longer? Mine's pretty long.
I don't know the length of mine, to be honest with you, because like I know the length of mine when I was reading it, but when I like adjust everything so that I can have like the screen in front of me, I squish it, you know. So I don't know how long it is, but I can go first. That's no problem.
All right, right.
So I am going to be starting out tonight with SCP-096. The object class is Euclid, and to remind you folks, a Euclid is an SCP that's an anomaly that requires more resources to contain completely, or where containment isn't always reliable. Basically, it's not quite over 9,000 on the power level, but it's getting there. So there's Safe, Euclid, Keter, I think is like the super dangerous one.
Not to be confused with Cooter.
Exactly. Cooter is super dangerous. So this one's a Euclid, and here is the profile. Special containment procedures for SCP-096. It is to be contained in its cell a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter airtight steel cube at all times. Weekly checks for any cracks or holes are mandatory. There are to be absolutely no video surveillance or optical tools of any kind in SCP-096's cell. Security personnel will use pre-installed pressure sensors and laser detectors to ensure SCP-096's presence inside the cell. Any and all photos, video, or recordings of SCP-096 likeness are strictly forbidden without the approval of Dr. Redacted. How the fuck are you going to know to get approval if you don't know the name of the doctor? Description. SCP-096 is a humanoid creature measuring approximately 2.38 meters in height. I don't know how tall that is in feet, but I think it's like 7. Let's go with 7. Let me check it really fast, actually.
I just multiply it by 3 usually.
It's 7.8 feet. Okay, so it's almost 8 feet tall. So 2.38 meters in height is around 7.8 feet. Knew that just off the top of my head. Totally didn't Google it just now. Subject shows very little muscle mass with preliminary analysis of body mass suggesting mild malnutrition. It's tall and lanky. Arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of the subject's body with an approximate length of 1.5 meters each. So that's like 4 feet? Yeah, it's like 4 feet.
Sounds like a basketball player.
Skin is mostly devoid of pigmentation with no sign of any body hair. SCP-096's jaw can open to 4 times the normal of an average human. Other facial features remain similar to an average human with the exception of the eyes, which are also devoid of any pigmentation. It is not yet known whether SCP-096 is blind or not. It shows no signs of any higher brain function and is considered to be sapient. SCP-096 is normally extremely docile with pressure sensors inside its cell indicating it spends most of its day pacing by the eastern wall. However, when someone views SCP-096's face, whether it be directly, via video recording, or even a photograph, look at this photograph.
Fucking knew it. Oh my god.
Every time I do it, kills me. It will enter a stage of considerable emotional distress. SCP-096 will cover its face with its hands and begin screaming, crying, and babbling incoherently. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the first viewing, SCP-096 will begin running to the person who viewed its face, who will from this point on be referred to as SCP-096-1. Documented speeds have varied from 35 kilometers per hour to redacted kilometers per hour, because why would you need to know how fast the thing is? and seems to depend on distance from SCP-096-1. At this point, no known material or method can impede SCP-096's progress. The actual position of SCP-096-1 does not seem to affect 096's response. It seems to have an innate sense of 096-1's location. Note, this reaction does not occur when viewing artist depictions. And then there's a separate story where it's like, someone painted it. Upon arriving at SCP-096-1's location, SCP-096 will proceed to kill and, in parentheses, data expunged, SCP-096-1. 100% of cases have left no traces of 096-1.
So this thing is just like...
If you see its face, it will hunt you and kill you no matter what. SCP-096 will then sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and becoming docile once again. It will then attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat, and then it says comma, and then data redacted, so we don't know what its natural habitat is. Due to the possibility of a mass chain reaction, including breach of Foundation secrecy and large civilian loss of life, retrieval of subject should be considered alpha priority. Dr. Blank has also petitioned for immediate termination of SCP-096, and then there's some redacted stuff, and it says termination order has been approved and is carried out and is to be carried out by Dr. Redacted on date redacted, which is annoying. However, there's an interview right after this.
It's like so many black bars.
Yeah.
So many black bars.
There's an interview from Dr. Redacted with Captain Redacted, who's retired, former commander of Retrieval Team Zulu 9A.
Commando sounds way cooler.
This dude is the one who captured this thing. So it's the captain being interviewed by the doctor. So I'm just going to call them captain and doctor. So, the beginning of the log is the captain speaking. It says, "It always sucks ass to get initial retrieval duty. You have no idea what the damn thing is capable of besides what jacked up information the field techies can scrape up. And you're lucky if they even tell you the whole story."
Do you want me to play the doctor?
Sure.
Okay.
They told us to, quote, bag and tag. Didn't tell us jack shit about not looking at the damn thing.
Could you describe the mission, please?
This is fun. This is roleplay. I like it.
Yeah.
Wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. That's actually what the captain said. "We had 2 choppers, one with my team and one with backup with Zulu 9B and Dr. Redacted. We spotted the target about 2 clicks north of our patrol path. I'm guessing he wasn't facing our direction, else he would have taken us out then and there."
Your report says SCP-096 didn't react to the cold. It was beep, 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 degrees Celsius.
I guess that's the redacted
It's the
sound.
redacted. I don't know what to say.
Actually, it was me. And yes, it was butt naked and didn't so much as shiver. Anyway, we landed, approached the target, and Corporal Redacted I'm not making that sound every time. Got ready to bag it. That's when Dr. Redacted called. I turned to answer it, and that's what saved me. The target must have turned, and my whole squad saw it.
That's when SCP-096 entered an agitated emotional state?
Yup. And then in brackets it says, interviewed, now pauses for a second before continuing. I couldn't do that audibly, like me getting choked up, because the audio listeners would have been like, what the fuck happened to the audio? Sorry. Got the willies for a second.
That's alright.
Yeah, well, I never saw its face. My squad did, and they paid for it up the ass.
Could you describe it a little more, please?
Yeah. It started screaming at us and crying. Not animal roaring, though. Sounded exactly like a person. Really fucking creepy. We started firing when it picked up Corporal Redacted and ripped off his leg. God, he was screaming for help. Fucking A. Anyway, we were blowing chunks out of the target round after round. It didn't do jack shit. I almost lost it when it started. Data expunged him. I'm gonna guess. Blowing him. Yep.
I fucking knew you were gonna say that. That's when you ordered the use of an AT-4 HEDT launcher?
An anti-tank gun? Yeah. Started carrying it ever since SCP Redacted got loose. I've seen those tear through tanks like tissue paper. Did the same thing to the target.
There was significant damage to SCP-096?
It didn't even fucking flinch. It kept tearing apart my squad, but with half of its torso gone. And then I draw a large half circle across his torso.
Whoa, so it's like...
you just imagine drawing a circle on your own chest.
Okay.
Like, that's all gone.
But it was taking damage?
If it wasn't showing it. It must have lost all its organs, all its blood, but it didn't acknowledge any of it. Its bone structure wasn't hurt at all, though. It kept tearing apart my squad.
So no actual structural damage. How many rounds would you say were fired at SCP-096?
At the least, 1,000. Our door gunner kept his GAU-19 on it for at least 20 seconds. 20 fucking seconds. That's 650 caliber rounds pumped into the thing. Might as well have been spitting at it.
Sounds hot. This is when Zulu 9B arrived?
Yeah, and my squad was gone. Zulu 9B managed to get the bag over its head and it just sat down. We got it into the chopper and got it here. I don't know how I never saw its face. May God or Buddha or whoever thought I should live. The jackass.
We've attained an artist's depiction of SCP-096's face. Would you like to view it?
You know, after hearing that thing screams and the screams of my men, I don't think I want to put a face to what I heard. No. Just no.
Alright, I believe we're done here. Thank you, Captain.
Then chairs are heard, moving, and footsteps leave the room. Captain Redacted is confirmed to have left the interview room.
Let this be on record that I'm formally requesting that SCP-096 be terminated as soon as possible.
End log. Just the way you say the end.
Okay, so they have a picture, a drawing of it, but that's different, right? You said there's a different case of someone having painted it.
Correct.
But, because it's like, if you have a recording or whatever of this thing's face...
Can't see videos, pictures, and then apparently it's okay if you see it in painting form.
Okay. So the drawing, it's not that bad.
The drawing should have been okay.
But whoever had to look at it to draw it.
They convinced the other person to look at it by holding it up and saying, look at this photograph.
Fucking fuck. Alright, cool. Nice, thanks.
So pretty creepy. Like, the interview's alright, but I really like the description of this thing. It's like you could write a story about this thing because it's kind of awesome. But yeah, that's SCP-096. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks. I'm going to go over my SCP of the night. The first one I'm going to cover is SCP-610, also known as the Flesh That Hates, apparently.
What object class is that, Robin?
It's object class Keter. Would you like to tell everybody what that one is?
Keter class SCPs are anomalies that are exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably, with containment procedures often being extensive and complex. They're very dangerous, basically.
They're dangerous.
They're over 9,000.
All right. So, this one goes under special containment procedures. Due to the vast area of infection SCP-610 covers, containment is impossible. Isolation of the area has proved far more effective, and permission has been granted by the Russian government to establish a perimeter to keep people out of these areas under the guise of military operations.
You know it's gotta be bad if the Russian government is being cooperative about it.
Should any organism displaying traits consistent with SCP-610 be sighted near this perimeter, then the established protocol requires it be engaged at range with small arms until immobile, then dispatched using incendiary weapons and munitions from as far a distance as possible. Any living thing coming in physical contact with an organism infected with SCP-610 is considered expendable and is to be immediately terminated and incinerated.
Pretty fucked up.
Any persons coming within 3 meters of SCP-610, 3 meters is like, what? 9 feet? Yeah, something like that.
9.3 feet? I don't know. Somewhere around there.
Infected life are to immediately withdraw from the area, be isolated from the rest of their team, and subjected to medical I was going to say extermination. That's fucked up.
That would be.
Examination using only remote techniques to determine if infection has occurred and appropriate steps taken based on that determination, which is probably extermination. At present, the known infection vectors for SCP-610 spread seem to be focused on physical contact. Drone movements within heavily infected areas have returned air samples containing minute particles, which when exposed to organic compounds will result in the spread of SCP-610. The results of these particular tests have revealed that most require several days to manifest, if at all, with the exception of direct contact with exposed lung and liver tissue. How would you expose your lung and liver? Like if your chest was open? Maybe?
I don't know. Maybe it goes into you. I have no idea.
That's what she said. These particular tests show rapid rate of growth, which requires incineration of the testing environment no more than 24 hours after initial exposure, with even a 2-hour mishap risking a compromised facility event. Given that this kind of rapid growth only occurs in organic material existing outside the human body, this form of infection is currently considered a minor concern.
So there you go. It's like if your lung accidentally fell out of you, you're like, no.
That would be awkward.
Yeah. I usually have two of them.
You'd have to literally hack up a lung.
It's good. I guess that's a good joke.
Yeah. I'll
give it to you.
These peculiarities have given rise to a series of questions regarding the possible origin of the infection in conjunction with the failed redacted.
God, I hate
what
the
the fuck?
Shit. It's just as frustrating reading a short story that's redacted as it would be like an actual government file that's redacted.
Containment protocol remains at a scorched earth policy at this time, and no concern for transmission via water or air at infection parameters exists, barring situational changes in the field. So you don't really have to worry too much about it, like breathing it in or drinking it, but just don't physically touch it. So, makes sense. Not too hard, right?
Don't let it touch your lungs. Don't smoke it.
Don't smoke it. All right, so the description of SCP-610. Initial reports of SCP-610 came direct from the Russian government through indisclosable channels. These reports consisted primarily of disappearances of farmers in the region and were not considered until the local police, followed by the regional police, and finally a government-dispatched agent all failed to report within a 72-hour period. So all these people went, never came back, right?
That's what I'm interpreting
That's how I'm interpreting it as. A small military contingent has dispatched to the area and quickly withdrew, at which point the Foundation was contacted to investigate. The area SCP-610 affects is close to Lake Baikal, which you have fucking covered.
Oh my god, this is so cool!
In southern Siberia. Areas of known infection are marked on a map provided to us here. I'm not going to bring up the map because you guys can't see it. Containment perimeters are marked in blue on the map that I'm not showing you. Surrounding these infection areas, as of present, no further locations have been identified. Incursions into the perimeter must be reported prior to conducting, confirmed during exploration, and debriefed on immediately following return. So you have to go through all these steps in order to do it. All right. SCP-610 appears to be contagious, a contagious skin disease at first, with symptoms including rash, itching, and increased skin sensitivity.
I feel like I might have this all of a sudden.
On your feet. Within 3 hours, the disease will cause blemishes resembling heavy scar tissue to form in the chest and arm areas. You know what? I do have arm issues. I need to work.
Do you have arm issues?
Yeah, I gotta work out my arms. I'm so weak. Spreading to the legs and back within an additional hour. So this thing just starts taking over your body and scar tissue. It consumes the victim completely within 5 hours. So within 5 hours, you fucked.
Can you save yourself, like if you touch it with your hand or whatever, by cutting off your hand? Is it like a Herschel from Walking Dead situation?
Oh, you chop it off? I don't know. Maybe we'll get there. Exposure to high temperatures vastly decreases the time for the contagion to spread, and complete infections have been recorded occurring in as little as 5 minutes. So if you're in a hotter temperature, it goes faster.
Right.
Okay. After the completion of the infection occurs, the victim's life functions will cease for approximately 3 minutes, after which time they restart at 2 to 3 times the activity rate of a normal human. So they become a lot faster. Following this, the scar tissue on the victims will start to move of its own accord and grow at a rapid rate. Normal human features start to disappear at this point under the infection, and the path of mutation appears to be largely random. Subjects observed in this state of infection have been recorded as growing 3 or more limbs of such a type, such as arms or legs. The head may become misshapen and elongate or widen out, and parts of the subject may split open, from which additional branches of flesh will grow.
Sounds like the Blob or Akira a little bit.
This sounds like Venom and Carnage.
You think it sounds like a symbiote?
Like a symbiote, yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know.
It sounds way more Akira than Venom.
I mean, Akira just got so fucked up at the end.
Akira! She has to casually correct my pronunciation.
It's just he gets real fucked up at the end of that movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
The duration of this stage of infection is unknown, and not all subjects appear to progress to the later stages. Under unknown conditions, an infected individual will cease moving and place itself in a location it deems suitable, where it roots itself. So, what? The fleshy growth on the victim will then begin to spread itself across all surrounding objects and consume them.
Like Akira.
Such objects do not spread the infection as living creatures do. However, the effect of prolonged contact with these objects is recorded later in this document, and I'm not gonna go over too much, I don't think. It is assumed that this behavior is to create an area hospitable to continued growth of the other infected.
No, that's interesting.
So it's like...
It's like an infected command center in StarCraft. Your Zerg. You can take over a human command center and then produce infected Terrans from said command center that run up and explode, but they're hideous looking. It's just like that. Robin's like, I hate you so much.
I feel like people don't play StarCraft anymore. Observation of life infected by SCP-610 by staff is impossible. Those infected with the disease immediately seek out aid as natural human impulse, resulting in unintended infections. So people that get infected are like, y'all need to help me. And then they just infect more people and infect more people. Those infected past the scar tissue phase actively and aggressively attempt to infect anyone approaching them within an undefined area. It's like those zombies that go out of their way to just keep biting people. They're not eating people. They just want to infect.
They're just spreading it, yeah.
Yeah. Which zombies are those? I forget which ones.
They're World War Z zombies, but I haven't seen that in a long time.
It has been established that should an infected be capable of sight and observe an uninfected, it will proceed towards them. If the infected has lost the ability of sight, a range of approximately 30 meters is considered safe. Observation of SCP-610 infected settlements. StarCraft infected call centers, command centers, has been established using artificial methods such as remote robots, which we're sending into Chernobyl. BT dubs. The data returned from these observations, coupled with the openly aggressive nature of the infected to attempt to spread SCP-610, has resulted in the Keter classification. So it's dangerous because it just wants to keep infecting more and more and more people.
One dangerous Keter. I said Keter.
However, so long as nothing is allowed to enter or leave the infected areas, it is considered a neutralized threat. Of concern are the cavernous areas beneath the infected settlements that were discovered during the exploration, and attempts to get research personnel into these areas are underway. So this thing is just like, if it's out on its own, it's like, you're fine. Just don't go anywhere near it.
Don't go close to it.
Isolate it, quarantine it, keep it there, things are fine. Just don't fucking touch it. Also, the whole thing about the Chernobyl robot is they're legitimately sending in robots.
Yeah, she didn't just, read that. No. She read today that the levels are spiking in Chernobyl again. And
there's more radioactive
She saw the headline,
activity.
Then she had me dig into
it.
I
was like, can you look into that?
It's an inaccessible, compartment that they're going to have to drill down to.
Yeah, that they have to drill down to.
To send robots to investigate more.
Because there's more radioactive activity. Radioactive. Yeah, anyway.
Radioactive.
So that's why I was saying that. It's actually not part of the SCP.
They're going to get down to that chamber and they're going to find Imagine Dragons and they're just going to seal that shit right back up.
Oh my god, I love Imagine Dragons.
You do not. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You barely ever listen to Imagine Dragons.
Their songs are so good.
There's 3 catchy Imagine Dragons songs. They're 4-song EP they came out with when I first moved to Las Vegas in 2011. 3 of them wound up in movie trailers right away because those were catchy. And then after that, I don't know what the fuck happened.
All right, cool. But yeah, that's SCP-610.
Right on. Fucking Imagine Dragons should be SCP-9999 or some shit. So
I'm covering really 999.
Right. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So that was really good. I really like the fact that it sort of builds on itself and then it has a bunch of sub SCPs for how it affects other living material or inorganic material. So it's a really good one. Good job, Robin. Good pick.
Thanks.
So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. So before we move on to the next story, I do want to mention that because of the wonderful folks that watch us live and do live donations during the stream, we have met another monthly goal. That monthly goal is that we are going to be doing an extra stream, in fact, this Sunday, which I believe will be the 16th? Sunday the 16th?
Yeah.
Sound about right to everyone?
It is the 16th because...
At 12 p.m., noon Pacific time, we will be doing our first ever, possibly only ever, cooking stream. What's that face?
Noon is so early.
We already announced it a fucking week ago when we hit the goal. At noon, we are going to be doing a cooking stream. Most importantly, thank you to everyone who donated. We have some things in mind for what we're going to cook. We're not 100% on anything yet. However, there are a few things that we're should we cook this, or this? And we're going to put up a poll on Patreon for all of our wonderful monthly donators to help us decide. So if you're a patron, you'll be able to vote in that until Sunday. Actually, let's say Friday night, because we have to buy the shit, and we're going to have to cook it on Sunday. So I'm excited. I have to do a whole brand new setup in the kitchen with cameras, and we have plenty of stuff, and it might get a little bit complicated, but I think it'll be fun. It's going to be super casual. It's just going to be us hanging out in the kitchen doing stuff.
Our kitchen is not like a fancy chef kitchen.
It's not a chef kitchen. It's a kitchen.
It's a kitchen.
So I don't know how long it'll last. It'll probably just be us, signing on, telling you folks what we're going to be making, and then having some camera work done. We're not sure exactly how yet. We're still working through the logistics of it. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. And hopefully some of the things that we cook are things that we're good at so they can at least come out edible. And then I think there'll be at least one thing that might be a little bit risky that we could fuck up, and it'll be kind of hilarious. We'll see what happens with it. We haven't 100% decided on what that's going to be, though. So thank you so much for everyone who donated. Thank you to the Patreons out there who are going to be helping us decide what we're going to cook.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on Sunday at noon. Our time, Pacific time.
Yeah, Pacific time.
Okay, so I'm going to move into the next SCP of the show. This is SCP-1230, suggested by Z-Ray-D, if I'm not mistaken, over there on Discord. They gave a little brief synopsis, like one sentence long, of what this is. I haven't read this yet, because I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm definitely reading this on the show. So first of all, this object class is safe. I don't think you really need a definition of what safe means, but in case you're out there like, I don't know what that means, I've never heard the word before. Safe class SCPs are anomalies that are easily and safely contained. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's like the farmer at the beginning of DBZ.
Stressy, depressy, lemon zesty.
Wow. It's not that. So, special containment procedures. There's a whole opening to this that has strike through, like, the line through the word. So it's not redacted, so I can read it.
It's
basically, this has been taken out of this, but you can still see what it said before, which is SCP-1230 is to be kept in a secure storage locker at Site 12. Access requires minimum clearance 2 with authorization and supervision by clearance 3 research and security staff, respectively. Supervising personnel are not to view SCP-1230's contents. Personnel accessing SCP-1230 are required to submit written accounts of dreams experienced within 48 hours of access.
So this thing fucks with your brain.
So, it has been changed. It says, see addendum, and now here's the new shit that you can do for the containment procedures. SCP-1230 has been relocated to a secure storage locker behind the desk of Site 12's main library. Access is available to clearance 2 personnel deemed to be in satisfactory psychological condition by site psychiatric staff.
Okay.
Personnel accessing SCP-1230 must submit written accounts of their dreams within 48 hours of access and submit to follow-up psychological examination.
They just want to see what happens.
It's not as locked down. They just want to know what you dreamt within 2 days of you doing it, and then they want to check your head to see if you're fucking crazy now. This is the description. SCP-1230 is an unlabeled, green, hardcover book with no apparent exceptional qualities. When SCP-1230 is opened, it displays the phrase, "A hero is born," on the first page viewed, while all other pages are blank.
Okay.
Quote, resetting once the book is closed. This has no obvious effects at first, but upon falling asleep, the reader will dream of a fantasy world where they are the protagonist of a troubled land. Dreamers are completely unaware, and all senses work just as well as when they're awake. Results vary depending on the imagination of the reader and are mostly attuned to fantasies of adventure that the reader would enjoy. In the mind of the reader, these dreams have been documented to last anywhere between 45 seconds, and then it cites a specific experiment, to 200 years.
What?
But in reality, the reader will usually never be asleep for longer than they normally would be.
Okay.
Upon awakening, it's some Inception shit. They go like 1 level deep, they go like 3 levels deep sometimes. Upon awakening, the reader is able to remember every aspect of their dream in detail. In SCP-1230, induced dreams, there is always a character called, quote, the bookkeeper, which is SCP-1230-1, appearing as a bearded man in a green cloak who claims to be the personification of SCP-1230 himself. SCP-1230-1 has been reported to be very amicable and helpful towards dreamers. It is stated that it enjoys creating these fantasyscapes and always tries to shape them in such a way that the dreamer garners the most entertainment out of it. It has expressed sorrow when the dream comes to an end and asks the dreamer to, quote, please visit again soon.
So this thing is the DM.
Coolest fucking thing ever.
The guy, number 1, is a DM. right?
Yeah.
He's gotta be.
The book is a sentient dungeon master where if you read the first page, you're going to have a dream of a campaign that could be short or it could be long. All right. So then there's some other stuff below this regarding discovery and experiments, which I'm going to jump into. Discovery. In a small bookstore located in Redacted, the shopkeeper had no recollection of owning the unlabeled book, but attempted to sell a story to a local newspaper about a, quote, magical dream book. The Foundation was able to dispel the story as a hoax, and SCP-1230 was confiscated.
You know what's funny is I just watched the episode of Supernatural where they meet all the dream walkers. The dream walkers. So this is it's given me those vibes, the dream walking vibes.
It's kind of funny that it's happening at the same time, or around the same time. All right. Experiment 1. Dr. Blank. It's actually Dr. F. Dr. F, in an attempt to test its effective range, opened SCP-1230 and boarded a flight to his hometown of Blank, where he spent the night at a hotel. Upon his return, Dr. F reported that SCP-1230-1 appeared in his dreams and explained that once you read A Hero is Born, the dream is immediately implanted into your subconscious, after which SCP-1230-1 is able to manipulate it remotely.
Okay.
Dr. F expressed his appreciation for SCP-1230-1's
this
cooperation.
This thing is nice.
I love this so far. Okay, experiment 2. A camera was set up above SCP-1230 and, using a mechanical arm, the book was opened. All pages were revealed to be blank. It seems SCP-1230 is only effective when opened by beings that are able to have dreams. SCP-1230-1 explained to a subsequent dreamer that it is actually only able to affect beings, quote, with an imagination.
So dogs can't?
And that most creatures, such as animals, would not be affected. I bet you fucking dogs would dream.
Dogs have imaginations.
Yeah. Experiment. Okay, go ahead.
I just think the animals dream. I think animals have imaginations.
Dream. It's confirmed.
They have personalities.
All dogs go to heaven. We all agree with you there, Rob.
I've never seen that anime. Or not anime,
yeah.
cartoon.
It's the craziest fucking anime. It's nuts when Frieza shows up and kills everyone. All right, experiment 3. 1D class was instructed to open the book. So I think they're taking another SCP.
Okay.
And they're having it open the book. And, in parentheses, after much reassurance that his experiences would only be dreams, ordered to immediately find a way to kill himself in the dream. The subject was asleep for merely 45 seconds before he awoke with a start and a nervous sweat. He reported being at the summit of a volcano called the Ashen Spire on a quest for Caladius the Blessed Blade. When asked how the subject knew the names, he stated, "It's like I knew them all along."
Wow.
He apparently leapt into the volcano and, quote, felt an intense heat before awakening. D-Class requested permission to, quote, give it another go. Request was denied. I actually think D-Class is a reference to
the rank of the person that works there.
All right.
I just think it's funny that they're like, "No, I gotta go again." It becomes like an addiction.
Can I get another turn?
I can see why then that it's locked behind a desk because you don't want people to get that addiction. Like,
I would open that fucking book every day. Every single day.
But then it's like Inception where you forget whether you're dreaming
it's not
or
true.
you're...
I would know because he'd be there to tell me.
Oh, that's true.
Guide. All right, experiment 4. 1D class was instructed to open the book and attempt to non-fatally injure himself in the dream. After 6 hours, the D class awoke and reported that he was able to feel a, quote, numbed sort of pain where it was never so intense as to be unbearable. He also reported meeting an elderly cloaked man who asked him why he was harming himself, but thanked him for not immediately killing himself, quote, like that other rude fellow.
What the
Because he remembers, like, someone else showed up here and jumped in a fucking volcano.
Oh my god.
All right, experiment 5, and this is the last experiment. Professor B filed a request for access to SCP-1230 and was quickly permitted. Given his level 4 clearance, staff members recalled that Professor B was almost visibly shaking with excitement, and some reported that Professor B was an avid fan of tabletop and role-playing games.
It's like Adam right now.
Surveillance, like Adam, period. Surveillance shows that Professor B opened the book, read the phrase, sat down beside the desk, and promptly fell asleep. Staff members were alarmed when Professor B did not awake after 15 hours and alerted security. The on-site medical staff were able to confirm that Professor B was still alive and in good health. After approximately 24 hours since falling asleep, Professor B began to move, reportedly to have, quote, slowly raised his head and looked around the room, appearing deeply confused. Security entered the room to ensure he was all right, to which he replied, "Where am I?" He was sent to medical staff where he explained where and who he was. Several minutes later, Professor B appeared to have regained his memory and excused himself to the restroom. When 15 minutes passed and Professor B had not exited, a nurse entered to find he had hanged himself with his belt.
It's like fucking Inception. You forget what's real and what's not.
A scribbled message on the wall revealed his last words. Quote, "I can't go back to this." Dr. F went to ask SCP-1230-1 what had happened, but upon opening SCP-1230, all its pages were soaking wet with the same message on every page. "I'm so sorry. I never intended for this to happen. I just wanted to make people happy." Repeated over and over. SCP-1230 remained in this state for 3 weeks, and its desk had to be wiped dry bi-weekly. In an attempt to communicate, Dr. F placed a sticky note inside SCP-1230 with the statement, "I'd like to talk to you if that's all right." The next morning, Dr. F filed a report about a dream he had concerning SCP-1230, and there's like a completely separate report that you can go into, but it basically just sums it up here saying, shortly after the report was filed, surveillance showed Dr. F slipping another small paper into SCP-1230. A few days after, SCP-1230 began showing its usual "A Hero is Born" greeting once again. When asked what the note said, Dr. F declined to give detailed comment, simply stating that he, quote, "just gave it some friendly advice."
I think this is just really sweet, and it's so sad that the SCP was like, "I didn't mean to do anything."
Actually, this report is not too long if you all want to hear what he dreamed when he went in there to talk to SCP-1230.
I feel like we should ask the stream. Do you guys want to hear?
Alright, so this is what the dream was. Upon falling asleep last night, I dreamt I was in a dark void. There was a street lamp, and underneath it was SCP-1230-1 sitting in a puddle. His cloak was visibly soaked, and he was sobbing profusely.
Aww.
I remember our conversation. Dr. F says, "Bookkeeper, is that you? My God, man, where are we?" The bookkeeper, between sobs, responds, "I couldn't think of anything to make for a landscape." Dr. F replied, "Bookkeeper, what happened that day? Why did the professor kill himself? We have to know your side of the story." The bookkeeper responded after wiping his eyes, "He had such an active imagination. I was able to create a vast and beautiful universe for him, and it was obvious that he had wanted a life like that for so long. He conquered foul beasts and rescued princesses. He built kingdoms and even raised a family, but he never wanted to leave. He delved so far into his fantasy world that I soon realized he preferred his dream over the real world. I reminded him that this was all merely an illusion, but he wouldn't listen to me. He stated that if he was ever forced to leave, he would immediately end his life. I tried to keep him happy for as long as I could." Dr. F responds, "Bookkeeper, how long was the dream from his point of view?" To which he responds, 200 years, doctor.
Wow.
I did my best, but I could only hold on to him for 200 years. As sweet as dreams may be, eventually we all have to wake up. I awoke almost immediately after. I can't believe he spent 200 years in his dream. I'm astounded by his foolishness, but it's such a shame to have lost a brilliant mind to his own delusions."
It's just like, from fucking Inception, because he kept telling her, like, we're not in the dream anymore, but she wanted so badly to go back to that dream, you know?
To stay in the dream.
Yeah.
She thought, like, waking life was fake. So it's not exactly like Inception. Like, he knew who he was and what was real and what wasn't, and just chose to just be like, fuck this, it's not as cool as being in the dream. So, yeah.
It's very, very big Inception vibes.
Yeah. But that is SCP-1230.
Adam loves D&D, so he appreciates that one.
Yeah. I thought this one was exciting. I actually didn't read through that part.
It's a dark twist.
So I didn't realize it was going to have a little bit of a sad ending, but I appreciate that they put so much nuance into it. It's like, and here's the dark side of what could happen if this thing actually existed. So, good stuff. I really like that one. Thank you for suggesting it.
All right, so I'm going to get into my next SCP, the last SCP of this particular episode. Thank you so much, Notorious Infamy, over in Discord for suggesting that we do this one. The one that I'm going to cover is SCP-999.
Interesting.
It's object class safes, and supposedly it's really wholesome, is how they described it in Discord. So, super excited. You know me, I'm all for the wholesome stuff.
Haven't read anything of it. I did see a picture of it, though, and I gotta say, it looks pretty cute.
Alright, so, special containment procedures for this particular SCP. SCP-999 is allowed to freely roam the facility should it desire to. Oh, is it a doggo? But otherwise must stay in its pen either between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for sleeping or during emergency lockdowns for its own safety. Oh my god, it sounds adorable. Subject is not allowed out of its pen at night or off facility grounds at any time. Pen is to be kept clean and food replaced twice daily. All personnel are allowed inside the holding area, but only if they are not assigned to other tasks at the time or if they are on break. This sounds so cute. Subject is to be played with when bored and spoken to in a calm, non-threatening tone. This thing is just like, you need to treat like baby. So cute.
Treat like a cute puppy.
SCP-999 appears to be a large, amorphous, gelatinous mass of translucent orange slime weighing about 54 kilograms or 120 pounds, with a consistency similar to that of peanut butter.
It's a blob.
Subject size and shape is easily malleable and can change shape at will, though, when at rest, SCP-999 becomes a rounded, oblate dome roughly 2 meters wide and 1 meter in height. So it does become like one of those little raindrop cakes.
Yeah, I see it as a blob from like the Dragon Quest games.
Yeah.
Just orange.
The surface of SCP-999 consists of a thin, transparent membrane similar to that of an animal cell, roughly 0.5 centimeters thick, and is highly elastic, so bouncy, allowing SCP-999 to flatten portions of its body up to 2 centimeters thin. This surface is also hydrophobic, waterproof, although SCP-999 can willfully absorb liquids.
So it can drink if it wants to. It kind of sounds like Flubber, but I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Oh my god, Flubber! The rest of SCP-999's body is filled with a viscous orange substance of unknown chemical makeup, though it is capable of digesting organic materials with ease. So it can eat stuff, but it's translucent on the inside, so you can can you see the food getting digested?
It's like a Jell-O mold. You can see what's in it.
Subject's temperament is best described as playful and dog-like. When approached, SCP-999 will often react with overwhelming elation, slithering over to the nearest person and leaping upon them, hugging them with a pair of pseudopods, while nuzzling the person's face with a third pseudopod. So it can create arms, pretty much.
And a face for nuzzling.
All the while emitting high-pitched gurgling and cooing noises. The surface of SCP-999 emits a pleasing odor that differs with whomever it interacts with. Aww.
From the movie Michael, where Michael's an angel and the women he's trying to attract all smell the thing from their childhood that they love the most.
That's cute. Recorded scents include chocolate, fresh laundry, bacon, roses, and Play-Doh. I honestly do not like the smell of Play-Doh, but to each their own. Simply touching SCP-999's surface causes an immediate mild euphoria, which intensifies the longer one is exposed and lasts long after separation from the creature. So touching it makes you happy.
You get high on this thing.
Subject's favorite activity is tickle wrestling, often by completely enveloping a person from neck down and tickling them until asked to stop, though it does not always immediately comply with this request, so it is evil in some points.
In some adorable ways.
Though injuries may occur, SCP-999 has never found to be purposefully harmful to others and will immediately back away and contract its body into a quivering mound while gurgling in a manner similar to a whimpering dog, seemingly apologizing for hurting someone on accident.
Aww.
This thing is so precious! While the creature will interact with anyone, it seems to have a special interest in those who are unhappy or hurt in any way.
An emotional support blob.
It's so cute. Persons suffering from crippling depression or PTSD, for example, have reported having a far more positive outlook on life after multiple interactions with SCP-999. The possibility of manufacturing antidepressants from the slime is currently being discussed. Please do. That's great. In addition to its playful behavior, SCP-999 seems to love all animals, especially humans. We're animals. Refusing to eat any meat and even risking its own life to save others. On one occasion, leaping in front of a person to take a bullet fired at them. Subject's intellect is still up for debate, though its behavior is infantile. It seems to understand human speech and most modern technology, including guns.
I don't think an infant would jump in front of a fucking bullet to save a friend.
SCP-999's diet consists entirely of candy and sweets, with M&Ms and Necco wafers being its favorites. Its eating methods are similar to those of an amoeba.
It's pretty fucking adorable.
It's so fucking cute. There's an addendum that says, reminder to all staff, SCP-999 is not to consume caffeinated soft drinks of any kind. Last week, someone gave a can of cola along with its usual breakfast. Not only was it literally bouncing off the walls for half an hour, but the carbonation made the SCP visibly queasy afterwards, and it refused to move or eat the rest of the day. SCP-999 has thankfully recovered since, but the staff member in question has been reprimanded. That's so sad.
It's so funny. Soda's just not good for it. Or us, for that matter.
It's like, you can't give it soda, because it'll go fuck nuts.
You had to work fuck nuts in there, didn't you?
All right. So the following is a report from an experiment in which SCP-682 was exposed to 999 in hopes that it'll curb the creature's omnicidal rage. So
what is SCP-682?
I don't know. Let's find out. Let's click on it. It's class Keter, so it's dangerous. So it's a big reptile-like creature.
Extremely intelligent.
Really strong, really fast, really smart.
Wants to kill everything.
Yeah, wants to kill stuff.
Got it. Okay.
Cool.
It's like a big kimono dragon. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
All right. So they want to try to make it so...
It hangs out with SCP-999.
And makes it not so murderous.
Just see what happens.
Okay, so while together, obviously 999's really happy, and 682 is just like, what is that? And as it comes closer, it's jumping up and down like a dog. Oh my god, it's so cute. 682 is just like, this thing's disgusting. And steps on 999, completely flattening them. And observers are like, we gotta abort this mission when 682 starts talking again. And then it starts laughing and it starts feeling good. 999's crawls up from between 682's toes, up along its side, around its neck, and then clings onto it and starts nuzzling it with one of its little arms. And SCP-682 starts getting super happy. Oh my god. This is just too cute because it just starts, this murderous creature starts laughing. Oh my god.
And giggling.
And then it starts getting tickled. It's just cute. This whole thing's cute.
Basically, one of the more evil creatures on the site was neutralized by SCP-999.
Let's see. Then SCP-999's removed. 682 immediately wakes up and unleashes an identifiable wave of energy from its body, all while laughing maniacally. All persons within the wave's range collapse into crippling fits of laughter. So it's like they work together. It's so weird. SCP-682 tries to escape and slaughter everything in its path. SCP-999 tries to save everyone while that's happening. It's just like, it's happy for a second, but it takes the opportunity to keep murdering. But 999's pretty cute. I love them.
Yeah.
I want one. If I could get one, that'd be great.
It's like those things from Dragon Quest mixed with Flubber if it made you happy when you touched it. So.
Yeah. Flubber was really destructive though, right? It
just bounced a lot. It's not Flubber's fucking fault. Just saying. It's like you blame a rubber band when you snap it in someone's eye. No, you blame the person who snapped it.
Do we tell you guys about when Adam poked me in the eyeball?
We told them, yeah. Where you were like turning your head in such a weird
painful.
fucking way that I couldn't move out of the way. And you're like, you hit me.
I could have been blinded.
She like moved forward and like did this weird fucking pivot. And like I had pulled my hand back to get out of the way. I still wanted making contact just with her eyeball. One finger touched her eyeball. Like, ew.
Thank you for calling my eyeball gross.
It is gross. It's wet.
All right, but yeah, so that's SCP-999. Thank you.
Thank you for suggesting it in Tori's Infamy. We appreciate you. All right, so I want to thank everyone who listened to this episode. It was extremely fun. I fucking love the SCP episodes. Thank you to everyone who suggested SCPs. Other folks have actually suggested other SCPs as well, which we will be covering in the future. We just picked these two in particular tonight, so thank you one more time to those folks. If you have an SCP you would like to listen to us read, you can either hit us up on Discord, you can email us. You can email us at any of our email addresses. We have pastatime@scarish.com, where you can suggest things like SCPs. You can suggest creepypastas or send your own if you have them so that we can read them on the air. We also have storytime@scarish.com, which is where you can send your actual experiences, not fake shit, that have happened to you, a friend, a family member, that can be spiritual, supernatural, creepy, coincidental, true crime, extraterrestrial, or just funny in nature. And we would love to hear those. Or you can hit us up on any of our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod and Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. There are a bunch of tiers you can check out. Those are monthly subscriptions. Tiers start at $1, and at $1 you get ad-free episodes. Who doesn't like ad-free? Also, we're doing a stream on Sunday that if you sign up today, hopefully if it's Friday, you can actually enter help us choose what we're going to be cooking for our cooking stream on Sunday. So, pretty cool. And if you're not into the monthly donation type thing, you can go to ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast, and those are one-time donations. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup, kind of keep us going. Invest in us so we can invest in you.
We will invest back in the podcast. We have done it so many times before because of all the generosity we have received. So one more time, thank you so much to everyone who listens, supports us in all these different ways. It means the world to us. But that's about everything we have for Pastatime number 7. So Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.